You sit down to relax. Maybe you open a sketchbook, or pick up a guitar, or start a video game you used to love. And for a few minutes, it feels good. But then something changes. Your brain quietly asks, how do I get better at this? Suddenly, the hobby becomes a project. The project becomes a standard, and the standard becomes pressure. Now, you're watching tutorials instead of enjoying the thing itself, tracking progress, comparing yourself, optimizing something that was supposed to make you feel alive, and eventually, you stop enjoying it altogether. What's strange is that from the outside, this looks disciplined, but internally, it feels heavy. Like your brain forgot how to exist without turning every experience into proof that you matter. A lot of people think this is ambition. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's something much quieter. A nervous system that only learned to feel safe when it was improving. And that changes the way you experience almost everything. Not just hobbies, relationships, rest, creativity, even your own identity. Because when your value becomes tied to progress, stillness starts to feel emotionally meaningless. And the strange part is, most people don't even realize this is happening while it's happening. You might notice it in small moments. You start learning photography because it feels calming. 2 weeks later, you're researching lenses, studying editing theory, comparing your work to strangers online. You start going to the gym because movement helps your mood. Then suddenly, every workout becomes data, calories, macros, performance, optimization, even reading becomes difficult. You can't just read a book anymore. You need to extract lessons from it, highlight it, turn it into self-improvement. Your brain treats enjoyment like wasted potential unless it produces something measurable. And over time, this creates a very specific kind of exhaustion. Not physical exhaustion. Identity exhaustion, because every activity starts asking the same hidden question. Am I becoming someone valuable through this? Behavioral psychology has a term related to this: reward conditioning. Your brain learns to repeat behaviors that produce emotional rewards. But here's where it becomes complicated. For some people, the reward was never joy itself. The reward was approval, competence, recognition, safety. Maybe you were praised for achievement more than presence. Maybe being productive made you feel emotionally secure. Maybe slowing down made you feel guilty, so your nervous system adapted. It started linking self-worth with usefulness. Not consciously, quietly, over years. And eventually, your brain stopped asking, "Do I enjoy this?" It started asking, "What does this make me?" This is why hobbies can start feeling emotionally dangerous, because once enjoyment becomes connected to identity, failure stops feeling playful. It feels personal. A badly drawn sketch doesn't just feel like a sketch. It feels like evidence. Evidence that maybe you're wasting time, falling behind, not disciplined enough. And the brain hates uncertainty like that, especially the human brain. Neuroscience shows that your brain constantly tries to reduce psychological ambiguity. It wants prediction, control, coherence. So when an activity has no measurable outcome, your brain tries to create one. That's why pure play becomes uncomfortable. Your mind keeps searching for a scoreboard. Imagine a child playing in the ocean. At first, they simply enjoy the waves. But then someone hands them a stopwatch, ranking system, a performance chart. Suddenly, the ocean changes. Same water, different meaning. That's what happens psychologically when productivity fuses with identity. The activity itself hasn't changed. Your relationship to it has. And this fusion creates a strange contradiction. You desperately want rest. But rest without achievement feels emotionally empty. So even relaxation becomes labor. There's another layer to this. Cognitive scientists sometimes describe the brain as a prediction machine. It constantly tries to predict future emotional outcomes. If your brain learned that achievement leads to emotional safety, it starts treating optimization like survival. That's why doing nothing useful can create genuine anxiety. not laziness. It's not weakness. Anxiety, because your nervous system interprets non-productivity as potential loss of identity. Which explains something most people struggle to articulate: why relaxing can feel strangely unsafe, even when you're exhausted. But this pattern is not proof that you're broken. It's proof that your brain adapted too well to an environment that rewarded usefulness. The problem is, adaptations can outlive the conditions that created them. A plant leaning toward sunlight makes sense until it keeps bending long after the light has moved. Your brain is doing something similar, still reaching for worth through improvement, even in moments meant for simple human experience. And this is where things begin to change, not through abandoning ambition, but by separating existence from performance. The first step is learning to notice when enjoyment turns into evaluation. Not after burnout. Earlier, the exact moment your brain shifts from, "This feels good," to, "How do I maximize this?" That moment matters. Because psychologically, awareness interrupts automatic behavioral loops. In neuroscience, this is tied to metacognition, your ability to observe your own mental processes. When you notice the shift without immediately obeying it, you weaken the habit pathway. For example, you start learning piano for fun. Then you catch yourself researching how to become advanced quickly. Pause there, not to shame yourself, just to notice the transition. That tiny interruption creates cognitive distance, and cognitive distance reduces compulsive behavior. The second step is practicing low-stakes activities, things you intentionally remain average at. This sounds small, but psychologically, it retrains your reward system. Your dopamine system responds strongly to achievement and progress. That's normal, but if achievement becomes your only source of emotional reward, your brain loses tolerance for non-performative experiences. So you need activities where the outcome genuinely does not matter. Cooking badly, walking without tracking steps, drawing nonsense sketches you never post. Not because mediocrity is virtuous, but because your nervous system needs proof that existence can happen without optimization. The third step is separating identity from output. This is difficult because the brain loves clean narratives. I produce, therefore I matter. Simple, predictable, emotionally efficient, but humans are more complex than that. Personality psychology shows that when identity becomes overly dependent on one domain, achievement, intelligence, productivity, emotional stability becomes fragile. Because every failure threatens the entire self-concept. So instead of asking, "What does this activity say about me?" try asking, "What experience is this giving me right now?" That question redirects attention away from evaluation and toward presence. And presence calms the nervous system because it reduces future-oriented threat monitoring. The fourth step is intentionally leaving things unfinished. Not everything needs closure. Not everything needs mastery. There's a psychological concept called the completion bias. Your brain craves finished loops because unfinished things create tension. But constantly completing and optimizing every interest trains your mind to treat life like an endless productivity conveyor belt. Leaving some things incomplete teaches emotional tolerance. You played guitar for 3 months and stopped. That experience still mattered. Not because it became useful, because you lived it. And maybe that's the deeper idea underneath all of this. You were never supposed to turn every beautiful thing into evidence of worth. Some experiences are meant to stay small, temporary, unoptimized, unimpressive, a quiet walk, a random hobby, a song you never master. Not everything meaningful needs to become identity. Think of your mind like a room that's slowly filled with performance metrics. Every shelf labeled, every moment evaluated. This entire process is not about destroying the room. It's about opening a window inside it, letting some experiences exist without measurement, without extraction, without turning them into proof. Because the strange truth is, Enjoyment often returns the moment your brain stops trying to convert it into value. And maybe that's what freedom actually feels like. Not becoming less ambitious. Just becoming human enough to experience something without needing it to justify your existence. One day, you may notice it happening naturally. You're drawing badly. Cooking slowly. Listening to music without multitasking. And for a few seconds, your brain stops asking who you're becoming and simply lets you be here. That moment will feel unfamiliar at first, almost empty. But eventually, it starts feeling like peace.